Are we leaking web design clients? In this first post on getting clients, I'm revisiting one of my favorite books. It's a long-time bestseller we based a series around on the WP Builds podcast. It's called Watertight Marketing, and amazingly, you can now grab this for free thanks to the outstanding generosity of its author, Brian Thomas. Here, I will be using one of its concepts to highlight how agile approaches might help with obstacles a potential client may have on their journey to finding us. I will be exaggerating and overgeneralizing here, but only to contrast approaches succinctly. The aim of this blog is to present fresh perspectives. I'll rarely be saying you should do this, but I hope bouncing around some ideas will help us find our own ways. Let me start with talking about the sales funnel concept. The Watertight Marketing book shows us that a funnel is not really like a funnel. A better metaphor might be a leaky bucket, and it identifies 13 potential leaks where sales can be lost if a purchase needs to be considered. And the diagram here shows where these leaks can occur in a buyer's journey. And I've put some notes below my article taken from the book which explains a bit more about that journey. As suggested, I've coloured in the links to highlight the potential problem areas, and the book also suggests that we build backwards. So I'm starting at the bottom of the funnel and commenting on each of the leaks that I've marked in red and amber. I'm wanting to rebuild my own business, so I'm mostly interested in what's at the top of the funnel, which will be the last thing I'll cover here. Before moving on, I just want to say a big thanks to our sponsor, Beaver Builder. They are the WordPress page builder I've been using since 2014. Amongst the many great options out there, it's given me the perfect balance of stability, support, and ease for my clients that's just right for my business. Okay, let's move on to our first leak at the bottom of the funnel. It is forgotten customers, and this is about not engaging enough to get repeat custom or recommendations. And you might think I've gone a bit mad because amongst the web designers I know, they seem to survive almost entirely on referrals with almost no marketing effort. And in recent years, many are constantly engaging clients through ongoing care plans. So forgive me on this one. It's just my way of questioning whether traditional approaches have started to have their day in web design yet. From an agile perspective, it's baffling why any business would want to run a live media outlet via large fixed-time projects. It's setting them up to be only optimal for the short periods of time after each project is completed. Presently, that's not going to be too problematic for static brochure sites, but the more clients make use of the benefits of the medium, the more they will see that it's one that constantly needs adapting to. Of course, we have website care plans offering a route to agility, but they're often presented after the traditional project mindset has been reinforced. This means that the care plan becomes an upsell, sold often using last-minute scare tactics. Those who accept are effectively ambushed, and those who reject could suffer the problems that the designer kept to themselves up to this point. And the traditional us and them working relationship established with a traditional project may continue through to the plan. So the web designer is positioned as the outsider who does what the client wants according to a set of fixed terms. If they wanted to share their insider knowledge and alert companies of changes that could affect their business, GDPR, core web vitals, new accessibility rules, etc., genuine intentions could be viewed as sneaky upsells. I think the best and the worst thing about the traditional model is that it is the traditional model. Everybody understands it, but it was established to meet the needs of a different medium and time. Of course, many clients will expect traditional arrangements, perhaps mostly with the long established and hence slower to respond ones with the decent budgets. And in the short term, it seems easier and more lucrative to oblige them and use up their allocated budget. But I think we have to start to question how long these clients will see their websites as essentially static and suited to project-based improvements, particularly as many larger companies are getting exposure to Agile from elsewhere. I think we've already started to see many clients are finding their own route to agility through page builders and trained in-house staff. And I feel many web designers are going the opposite way to other industries. The threat of page builders and DIY work seems to have reinforced the idea that it's better to focus on pitching for big projects. I plan to explore how to present agile approaches to customers expecting a fixed cost proposal in another post. But my belief is that many of the companies who are DIYing their own sites are not doing it primarily to save money. It's because the traditional model is no longer meeting their ongoing needs. Meet these needs, and I think the money will follow. Okay, let's move to leak number 2, poor onboarding. This is the critical time between a person buying and when they consider themselves a loyal customer. I've marked this one in red because of the amount of discussion and software tools focused on the problem of getting content from clients. Under the traditional model, a client often falls at the first hurdle. So what do? Rip up the contract and create some drama right from the beginning, budget for it and penalize the well-prepared clients, or just suck it up, perhaps ridicule them on the Clients from Hell website. From an agile perspective, this is a shared problem for the client designer team. That could be just 2 people. If needed, the first sprint could be just about this. And given the key reasons for getting in a web design is often to get more leads or a prettier site, it makes sense for them to be working together on the very foundations for achieving that. And of course, when a client determines their budget through sprints, they're only likely to delay if genuinely needing help. I think this approach can stop us trying to attempt to bang square pegs into round holes with one-size-fits-all documentation and automatic content grabbing software. Let's move on to leak number 3, no emotional connection. So limited human touch leading potential customers to question whether they want to buy from you. In short, people buy from people. Often, a lot of personal time is given to understanding a brief, but I think the high risk decision has to be made based on reading a proposal that ends with a sobering contract. To be legally effective, a contract on a large fixed cost project needs to assume bad faith. It explains in no trust terms what can go wrong with the thing that they're being asked to sign up to. From an agile perspective, a contract, if required at all, only needs to extend to one low-risk sprint and focuses on team working. The relationship from the start is not focused on the onerous task of nailing down the end deliverable, but is on strengthening the relationship itself. Okay, let's move to leak number 4, no gateway. So this is when a purchase seems like a big leap or it has a lot of risk, people defer their decision. And this is an opportunity usually to be able to create some smaller stepping stones to what the big purchase. I started building sites way back when there was a big move to no spec work. This movement was going on in the web industry, and it was really about saving clients from themselves, as they would indirectly be paying for something that would not help them find the best agency for them. So it was a right move, but it did remove what seemed to clients like a helpful gateway. From an agile perspective, a stepping stone could just be a low-risk sprint of work, ideally something that they could use even if the working relationship is not right. And it could be paid for upfront, so there's no need to contract it. You just simply start. Number 5 is no critical improvement. So before spending a lot of money, a buyer often consults or has to consult a third party. If that person says no, then it's unlikely to proceed. This can happen, of course, at the proposal stage, but also earlier in the evaluation stage. A potential client consults with others and comes up with new considerations and questions and can use up a lot of our time. If nothing moves forward, they get labeled as tire kickers. And I think this is actually a very poor metaphor. It comes from car showrooms, where I think that should be expected, because the desire to see things of great beauty and engineering that we won't be able to own ourselves is kind of quite common. But the website equivalent of that would be looking at other websites, not inquiring about making their own. So I don't think tire kicking is really the kind of right terminology for these people. From an agile perspective, we're not really claiming to answer their questions up front. That's the whole point of it. When they are ready, we can start and find those answers by doing, and we can do that with a low risk sprint. Okay, let's move on to the last one, and we're going right to the top of the funnel now. This is no emotional impact. To grab attention, our messaging needs to be meaningful to the emotional context of a client's life to get noticed. And we probably all hate to admit it, and probably all know that our decisions are made emotionally, and then we set about justifying them with logic. If we are personally liked in a network of potential buyers, then it's likely, all other things being equal, that they will find more logical reasons to go with us rather than someone unknown. Trust in those closest to us is in our DNA due to our dependency at birth. Typical marketing messages of more business leads or gorgeous websites might strike an emotional chord with some, but any emotional impulse is likely to be killed instantly when they have to work to find out what they can get for their money. And if all they have is hackneyed marketing promises that leaves all the risk with the client, then we push them into depending on their logical thoughts through this. If we don't really have trust-based referrals or existing relationships with our clients, moving ourselves forward with a traditional model is not easy. From an agile perspective, well, there's not much on this. The concentration there has been mostly on working with a medium that's ever changing. Yet I think agile's focus on individuals and collaborations can help us take a wider perspective. For someone like me who doesn't find it easy to network due to my traveling and who has little interest in sales, I need to grab attention in other ways. And recently that has got me starting to think about the stuff that I often say to clients about website visitors, and that I perhaps ought to be taking some of my own medicine when it comes to potential clients. Here's some of the borrowed wisdoms that I've often told clients to apply to websites. The visitor needs to be the hero of the story you're telling or selling. I'm going to give the credit to Donald Miller for StoryBrand for that one, putting the people who are buying at the very center of this. I think Agile can help to do that. Visitors are looking to be better versions of themselves. That's often what a lot of internet browsing is about, except for when it's entertainment. I'll give the credit to Daniel Pink's Drive book for this, for showing how mastery and self-determination outweighs financial concerns. People will learn to play instruments in their spare time with no financial rewards for it. It's something that just human beings feel they need to do. So it's something that we can build into our messaging. And also visitors need to be able to visualize the benefits to them, and that really comes from everyone ever. I think if we think about these, it's not too hard to see why some clients struggled to leave us to our job in the traditional model, and why many are now attracted to the promises of page builders. But I don't believe DIY technology is a threat to our web design businesses. I think instead it can offer new ways of being able to collaborate much more effectively. I think it's too easy to write off potential clients who do DIY as cheapskates. They're really just using what knowledge they have presently to obtain the most flexible and low risk option. What they will eventually spend is unknown and is going to depend on results. In my experience, people spend a lot more than you expect or what they think they're going to spend in the first place. I would like to see less clients, this is a new phenomenon for me, coming to me after they've already started themselves. Often the work I see is great, but due to things that most of us just don't know for a number of years, I don't want to help unless rebuilding entirely. So I'd like to reach them a lot earlier in the journey. Of course, all of this is a topic for another post, but I really wanted to end by floating the idea that we can make an emotional impact by simply changing our messaging from what we can do for you to let us show you what you can do. Anyway, that's enough for this video. Thank you if you've got to this point. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you in another video. Thank you. Bye-bye.